I stood frozen on my front porch, coffee mug in hand, as a bulldozer roared toward my horse stables. Margaret Hensley, the HOA president, marched in front of it like a general, her wide-brimmed hat tilted like a battle crown and a laminated permit flapping in her grip. The driver revved the engine, and Margaret shouted to plow through my fence. My heart pounded. This wasn't just my land, she was attacking it was my livelihood, my peace. Then, as the bulldozer's blade dipped, a sheriff's cruiser rolled up. The deputy didn't even step out. He leaned out his window and said, "Those horses belong to the sheriff's department, ma'am." Margaret's face drained of color, and I knew this was just the start of a war I hadn't asked for. My name's Tom Bradley, and I own 10 acres just outside Springfield, Ohio, zoned for agriculture, free from any HOA's grip. But my land borders a neighborhood run like a gated fortress by Margaret and her clipboard-wielding minions. I'd turned half my property into a quiet haven for horses, with a sturdy stable set far enough from the HOA's fences to avoid trouble. Or so I thought. 3 weeks earlier, my friend Dave, a deputy with the county sheriff's office, asked if I could board their mounted patrol horses while their facility was under repair. I said yes, partly to repay a favor, partly because the horses were calmer than most people I knew. Big mistake. The trouble started the next day. Margaret stormed across her side of the fence, tape measure in one hand, phone recording in the other. "Who authorized these horses? Are you licensed? Do you know hooves disturb the peace?" she barked while I shoveled feed. She even demanded to see my manure management plan. I brushed her off, figuring she'd tire herself out. She didn't. By evening, she'd slipped HOA violation notices under my Gadian, my private land. One claimed my stable's green roof clashed with neighborhood aesthetics. Another warned of livestock odor. I chuckled until a city code enforcement officer showed up, tipped off by an anonymous complaint. I showed him my zoning papers and the horse's microchips, all registered to the sheriff's department. He left, muttering about a false report citation. That only lit Margaret's fuse. She escalated fast. She paraded around with a megaphone, blaring about health code violations near my fence. She printed flyers claiming my stables were a public hazard and stuffed them in neighbors' mailboxes. One of my horses, Daisy, spooked by her shouting, nearly broke a gate. I called Dave, who told me to log every incident and stay patient. The sheriff's office was planning something. Then came the bulldozer. It was a crisp Thursday morning when I heard the diesel growl. I followed the noise and found Margaret directing a demolition crew, pointing at my stables like she was staging a coup. The driver flashed a permit for Lot 47 stables removal, HOA authorized. I told him this wasn't HOA land. He shrugged. Margaret thrust her permit in my face, saying I had 72 hours to clear out. I warned her the horses were county property. She laughed. What's the county going to do against the HOA? She found out 30 seconds later when Deputy Martinez pulled up. He eyed the bulldozer, then Margaret's permit, and radioed in. Attempted demolition of sheriff's property, he said. He pointed out the department's logos on the horses' tags and warned her about felony property damage. The crew shut down the bulldozer and bailed. Margaret stormed off, vowing revenge. Martinez grinned. She's digging a hole she won't climb out of. The next morning, my mailbox was stuffed with neon-colored notices, some taped, some stapled to my fence. They listed fake violations, excessive manure, unpermitted structures, even suspected groundwater theft. Groundwater theft? She was making it up now. By noon, an animal control officer, Lisa Carter, arrived after another anonymous tip about neglected horses. I showed her the stables. Daisy and the others were pristine, their microchips scanned, their feed top-notch. Lisa nodded. These horses live better than I do. Then Margaret appeared, filming from her side of the fence, shouting about shady hay storage. Lisa whispered, "I'm marking this resolved. She's not here for the animals." She drove off, ignoring Margaret's rants. That night, I dug into Margaret's permit. The PDF's metadata showed it came from the HOA's office, filed under a fake email, teedup.bradley.stableclearance@outlook.com. I'd never made that account. She'd forged my identity. I sent everything to Martinez, who called back, furious. The sheriff was building a case, but they needed Margaret to slip up again. She did spectacularly. The next day, I heard drilling. A 7-foot plywood wall, painted beige, was going up 3 feet inside my property line. Margaret stood nearby, directing workers in HOA vests. Beautifying the boundary, she called it. I pointed out the survey stakes. She waved me off. We have an easement. You'll adjust. That evening, 2 men in fake uniforms, badges, radios, zip ties showed up at my gate, claiming to be HOA community enforcement. They accused me of trespassing on HOA-monitored land and moved to detain me. I demanded ID. They flashed flimsy HOA volunteer cards. When one grabbed my arm, I hit my phone's emergency button. Martinez and Dave arrived in minutes. They cuffed the imposters, who turned out to be hired by Margaret. She showed up mid-scene, screaming about HOA rights, but went silent when Martinez mentioned impersonating law enforcement. Daisy, ever the star, nudged one of the cuffed men's heads, as if approving their arrest. My security footage, paired with Martinez's body cam, went viral on TikTok and Reddit, racking up 50,000 views overnight. Margaret didn't stop. She strung barbed wire across the wall and padlocked my stable gate, claiming it was now HOA utility access. She smirked, saying it was for stormwater management. I snapped photos and called Martinez. A deputy arrived, confirmed the trespass, and warned of criminal mischief charges, especially since the locked gate blocked the sheriff's horses. That night, my cameras caught 2 SUVs creeping along the fence. For people with scanners were probing the ground near Margaret's wall. I recorded it and texted Martinez. He revealed the sheriff had traced a fake easement filing with forged coordinates, meant to redraw my land as HOA property. The SUV crew, HOA volunteers, and a signage contractor were detained. Reddit exploded, dubbing Margaret the HOA tyrant. Then came her boldest move, a glittery sign on my land proclaiming the future Serenity Garden, sponsored by HOA VP Margaret Hensley. That was my breaking point. I dug through old zoning records and found the HOA's charter, which barred them from controlling unannexed land. I sent it to Dave, who confirmed the county was flagging Margaret's filings for fraud. A public hearing was set, and I'd be the star witness. The hearing room buzzed with HOA members, neighbors, and a news camera. Margaret sat smugly in pink, her lawyers spinning tales of community harmony. I presented my evidence, deeds, photos, the forged permits metadata, and footage of the fake cops. The zoning board grilled Margaret's lawyer, who stumbled. Then Sheriff Thompson stood up, unprompted, and declared the horses were county assets. Margaret's actions, he said, risked obstructing sheriff operations. The room froze. The board ruled in my favor, ordering the wall, wire, and sign removed within 72 hours, with $5,000 daily fines for noncompliance. They also launched an investigation into the HOA's leadership. Margaret's garden plea was drowned out by gasps. Outside, a county lawyer, Emily Roth, handed me files showing Margaret had forged 3 other applications, including 2 neighbors. She was facing multiple charges. Dave texted, Margaret was ousted as HOA president. By evening, workers began dismantling her wall. The horses, sensing calm, grazed peacefully. The HOA's new board sent an apology and invited me to speak at a town hall. I declined, but offered my stables for community events. They took me up on it, hosting Horse Harmony Day. Kids rode Daisy, Sheriff Thompson gave me a certificate, and even Margaret's old allies apologized. The stables were later designated an official sheriff's patrol station, with county-funded upgrades. Margaret vanished, her lawsuits dismissed, her reputation in tatters. Standing by my fence, watching Daisy in the sunset, I felt peace, not just from Margaret's defeat, but from knowing my land was now a community anchor. The viral video hit 2 million views, with comments cheering justice. Margaret tried to bulldoze my life, but only strengthened it. What do you think about Margaret's actions and the fight for justice here? Have you faced similar overreach or unfairness in your life? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's talk about standing up to bullying and protecting what's yours.